Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to all of you. Please accept my humble pranams and thank you so much for joining in this live session, day 2 of Gita Sastri. We welcome all of you. We'll begin the session by chanting some prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I welcome all of you once again to this session of Gita Shastri, day 2. Before we begin the session today, I would like you to participate in a quick poll. I wanted to know 2 things from you. So take few seconds out to answer that. You'll be seeing the poll questions on your screen now, both on laptop as well as mobile device. And it's just a small feedback from you. I want to know from you if you want this or not. So there are 2 questions. One is, do you prefer to have a 5-minute break in between the session? Like we have a 2-hour session, so do you want a 5-minute break just to stretch your arms and legs, be a bit relaxed, And the second is, do you want to have a short session within this course on Sanskrit pronunciation and Sanskrit verse memorization? So as a part of this course. Okay, 33, 34, we have 46 participants. Just give me a few more seconds for the complete feedback. Okay, so the majority, they say that they want a break in the session, within the session, a 5-minute break. They'll give you that. And the second is, majority also want the short session on shloka memorization and Sanskrit pronunciation. Very good. So we'll keep that. Thank you so much for participating in this poll. The result I can share. Are you able to see the poll result? Yes. Okay. So half. for the first question. I don't want to revise what we discussed yesterday because I have already shared the PDFs with all of you, right? I don't want to revise that. But 3 questions I gave you as a task. 3 questions. What is the spirit? The first question was, what is the spirit of Bhagavad-gita? The second question was, what is the purpose of Gita? And third, why is karma not eternal? Right? So if you did the reading of the section that was assigned, you can very easily answer these questions. Someone would like to try giving the answer to the first question. What is the spirit of Bhagavad-gita? Okay, Vilas Prabhu raised the hand first. Yes, Prabhuji. You wait a second. I have to give you the permission to unmute yourself. Yes, Vilas Prabhu. You can unmute now.
Yeah, I think
yes.
Hare Krishna, Danod Pranam Prabhuji. The spirit of Bhagavad-gita is mentioned in Bhagavad-gita itself. Bhagavad-gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the Lord himself.
Okay. Thank you. That's correct. Any other answer to this question? Yes, 𝗪𝗵𝗿 Mataji. I'll give chance on the basis of who raises the hand first. So, in this list, I can see the next is 𝗪𝗵𝗿. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, as mentioned earlier by another Prabhuji, Bhagavad-gita, the spirit of
We cannot hear you, Mataji. Okay, someone else then. Arati Mataji. Please give an answer if it is different from the previous answer. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, one is, of course, I mean, as directed by the Lord himself, that is to follow that is a spirit. And also, it is confirmed by the other acharyas, and Brahma Samhita also accepts this. So,
okay.
Which is...
fine, thank you. Well, there is one line which comes little later in the text. If you read the text properly, there's one line which comes later also. That is the exact answer. Anju Mataji.
It should be learned in the disciplic succession in submissive mood.
Okay, in the submissive mode. Very good. Thank you, Mataji. Anyone else has something different to say? Basanti Mataji.
In page number 5, we have a line. Bhagavad-gita should be taken up in the spirit of devotion.
Very good. Thank you. So there is a very simple, concise answer. Gita should be taken in the spirit of devotion. One line answer given in the text itself. Okay, now let's go to the second question. What is the purpose of Gita? There can be many answers to this question also, but it would be nice if you can just give that one line which is there in the introduction. There's just one simple line there. Yeah, Annapurna Mataji. I cannot hear you, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
The purpose of Bhagavad-gita is for us to form a relationship with Lord Krishna and thus becoming a devotee. Devotee can be in passive, active, as a friend, as a parent, or a conjugal lover.
Okay.
So this is done by evoking devotion, and this is done by perfection of devotional service.
All right, thank you. That's correct. Not at all wrong, but there's something else very specific that I'm looking for. May I know the name of this person who has joined with the ID MMDS? I can change the name. What's the name? You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. My name is madhusudanavisnudas.
Okay. So I'll change your name. Fine, because it's better for me to take the full name. MMDS. Not so nice. Okay, so yes, what is the answer?
The purpose of the Bhagavad-gita is to deliver the mankind from the nescience of the material existence.
Thank you. So that's the correct answer. One line. The purpose of Gita is to deliver the mankind from material nescience. Nescience means ignorance. Ignorance means darkness. Darkness means fear and anxiety. Simple. Like I can give you an example. Of course, you may be living in a city now which doesn't have any kind of power cut. But if you have, if you live in a village or a small town, or you have spent your childhood days in such a place, you must have experienced power cut during night time when the electricity would go. And when the electricity goes suddenly, if you're doing something, you get little panicked, you know, whether I should take a left turn or I should take a right turn, whether I'll bump into something. So you become very, very alert, and a sense of fear comes inside that what should I do next, you know? So we are struggling to hold on to the matchstick or the torchlight or find where is the burner, isn't it? So you can imagine that situation in your mind. Suddenly there is a power cut and it's all dark around. And then you feel a sense of insecurity. There's some sense of fear. So ignorance is similar to darkness. And when I'm in darkness, I'm in ignorance, I have fear. I am insecure. I have anxiety. So the purpose of Gita is to deliver one from that state of fear, from state of anxiety. And the third question, why is karma not eternal? I appreciate your enthusiasm to give the answer, but you know, I am preferring to give chance to those who have not got chance before, and then I'll come to the repeaters. So in that way, everyone can participate, right? So Kapil Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the karma is not eternal because we are suffering or enjoying results of our activities, and these activities can be changed. These karma can be changed based on our activities. So this change completely dependent upon our perfection of our knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's correct answer. Okay, we'll discuss this more in detail later. Thank you so much for your active participation in this exercise. Now we go to our day 2. I hope you read this section that was assigned to you, because then, you know, you can ask me a lot of questions, you can clarify your doubts. As I mentioned, it will help you also to do at least one reading of Bhagavad-gita. This will give you a chance to read the Gita fully. Otherwise, people, they have so many excuses of not getting time to read Gita fully. So here you have a chance to read from the first page to the last page, you know, in a period of 7 months. And it's possible, not so difficult. Like 7 months has how many days? It has around 210 days. And the Bhagavad Gita has around 1,000 pages. So you just have to read maybe 4 or 5 pages a day. Not so difficult, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of reading. So we are on day 2, and today, this Mangalacharan, which I also showed yesterday, I wish that all of you can memorize these 2 verses. If you chant it every day, you'll definitely memorize. So the first is obeisances to Srila Vyasadeva. I'll speak one line and then you can repeat after me. That is the easiest way to memorize. It's a beautiful shloka. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Ullarvindayat Patra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamayaha Pradipaha. So I offer my respectful obeisance to Vyasadeva, who has eyes as blossoming as a lotus petal leaf, and then he has lit the lamp of Mahabharata, giving us knowledge. And next is to Lord Krishna. Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitraika Panaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna, who is the refuge of Lakshmi Devi, who is born of ocean, and who carries in one hand, what does he carry? A staff for driving the cows, and the other hand, he has Jnana Mudra. And then I offer him obeisances because he's milking the cow of Upanishad and giving us Gita, the nectarian Gita. That's the meaning of this verse. So in the introduction, if you remember the second slide which I showed you yesterday, the second PDF, Krishna, Arjuna, and Gita is the first topic. First 12 paragraphs. So first question, the first line was Bhagavad-gita is also known as 𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗃, right? Right? It's that line comes there. So a question comes, why is it called 𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗃? What is specific about Gita? Though it's a part of Mahabharata, and Mahabharata is a storybook. In Vedas, there are two kinds of scriptures. One is books which are stories, histories. So Mahabharata is like that. But here Gita is not being treated as a storybook. It is being treated as an Upanishad. Why so? Any one answer for this question? Okay, Santosh Kumar Sahuji. I'll allow you to unmute yourself. Santosh Kumar.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishads, and it is in the form of Gita, means song. So I think Prabhuji like that.
Okay, good try. So Gita is the essence of all Upanishads. But why should we anyway call it Upanishad? Pankaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Upanishads are the summary kind of all the Vedas, and which explains about the Lord. So it's a Gita Upanishad through which we can understand the Lord. Means instead of reading all the Vedas, we can go with it.
All right, thank you. A bit close to the answer. Okay, last reply. Anju Mataji.
It is the essence of Vedic knowledge.
Essence of Vedic knowledge. Okay, good. Fine. Actually, Gita is called Upanishad for two reasons. First, because of its philosophical nature. Upanishads are very philosophical in nature. There are no stories in Upanishads. Rarely do you find stories in Upanishads. They are very philosophical, which means they have concepts. You know, Gita has concepts. Gita doesn't have stories, right? It has concepts. And these concepts are elaborated in another scripture, which is called Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Are you able to understand? Gita is giving us concepts, and these concepts are elaborated with examples in Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is one reason it's called Upanishad. Second thing is that in Sanskrit, there are two kinds of Sanskrit. One is classical Sanskrit, one is Vedic Sanskrit. The Puranas, the stories, the histories, they are written in classical Sanskrit. Just like in English, we can have two kinds of English, spoken English and written English. Isn't it? Like that, there are two varieties in Sanskrit. And Upanishads are written in Vedic Sanskrit. And Gita, the language of Gita is also like that. Krishna is speaking in that manner. That's why it's called an Upanishad. Therefore, the students of Bhagavad-gita should know that we can make Gita very interesting by giving examples, telling stories, like we did in Gita Diploma course. But actually, the true nature of Bhagavad-gita is that it is a scripture for those who have very nice analytical thinking or rational thinking, because it's about concepts. Does it make sense? It's for that kind of audience. It can be made simple by giving examples and stories, but the nature of the scripture is like this. That's why it's called Gita Upanishad. And then this Gita Upanishad was spoken by the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada gives why Krishna should be taken as an authority, as a supreme authority. So this is a very simple illustration you see on the screen. For any spiritual truth to be learned, for any spiritual truth to be learned, spiritual knowledge to be learned, we need three sources of information about that, or three evidences we need. And what are these three? You can see from that chair diagram, the stool diagram, there are three legs. One is Guru, the other is Sadhu, and the other is Shastra. This is very important for any student of Vedic knowledge. that we cross-check the validity of information by looking at these three things. Anyone may tell anything to us, but how do I verify this is correct? What is the process of verification? So these are the three things: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And on that basis, you understand the spiritual truth. So if we say Krishna is God, how do we verify now? First, Krishna himself says in Gita, he is God. That's Guru. Krishna is Vande Jagat Guru, right? Krishna is Vande Jagat Guru. He is I offer my obeisances to Krishna, who's Jagat Guru. So he says. Then sadhus, there are sadhus who say Krishna is God. Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You must have read these names in the text. And then Shastra, there are scriptures which say that Krishna is God. Brahma Samhita, Bhagavad Purana, other Puranas. Now this is very important for the students of Vedic knowledge, that they don't accept any information coming from anywhere if that doesn't have a foundation of these three things. It must have these three things: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Three things. That's how you verify. Three evidences. So Krishna is God. That's confirmed on the basis of this. And then that Krishna who is God, who is perfect because he is God, the Supreme Lord, he gave perfect knowledge to Arjuna in the form of Bhagavad-gita. All right? So do you remember reading the text? There it was mentioned that there was a parampara in which the knowledge was given, and then that parampara broke down and the knowledge was lost. Did you hear about, read about that or heard about that before? Yes, you heard about it.
Yes.
So now there's a question, very simple question, that if this Gita knowledge is eternal knowledge, it is spiritual knowledge because it is given by God. It is not material knowledge, it is spiritual, eternal. How can something which is eternal be lost? It is eternal. Eternal means what? No beginning, no end. No birth, no death. So when it says this knowledge is lost, what can it mean? Lost. So how do you understand that? Ratnalekha Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, pranams. It can be lost because we are in the material world and we are materially contaminated, and it's due to our forgetfulness that it has been lost. Okay. That's what I understand.
Okay. So what I understand from your statement is that because we are involved, so it is lost from our end. It is not lost from Krishna's end. It is lost from our end, right? That's what you want to say, because it is spiritual knowledge. Okay, thank you. I can give now chance to Harnit Mataji. You have to unmute yourself, Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. So it is lost because of what Mataji said earlier, and also because it was due to Shravanam. I mean, we were supposed to remember there was no written this thing, so maybe that is the reason why it got lost during the succession.
Fine. So she is introducing a new idea that in those days people, they never had written resources of scriptures. It was all heard and memorized and remembered. So maybe there was no proper Shravanam, there was no proper taking of that knowledge from the Guru. That's why that knowledge was lost or the parampara was broken. Okay, I'll just take these two answers. Now here, first of all, here we need to understand there are many paramparas, but there are two types of parampara systems. Two types of parampara systems. What is parampara? Parampara means a chain of, transference of knowledge from one person to another. Like a teacher teaches to the student, that student becomes a teacher, then teaches to his or her student. So that's called a chain of teachers and students. That's called parampara, a succession. So there are two kinds of parampara systems. One is called Guru Shishya Parampara, master and disciple, or teacher and student parampara. And the other is called Raja Rishi Parampara, the parampara of saintly kings. Understand? the parampara of saintly kings. So what happens in the first and the second, there is a difference in nature. You see, the first one is not on the basis of birth or caste or bodily relationship or gender or family. Are you able to understand? Like a person can be a guru who is a Brahmana, and then the student can be someone who is not a Brahmana, Vaishya. Getting it? And they all both can belong to different families, but the guru gives the knowledge to the student. Raj Rishi Parampara is what kind? There is a king, a royal king, and he gives the knowledge to his son. And when that son becomes grown up and becomes the king, then he gives the knowledge to his son. So it is based on a family heritage. You understand? Right? So now please try to understand. If in that family, let's say there is one generation where there is no son, what will happen? The knowledge will become lost. Or let's say there was a king who had a son who was not qualified to receive this knowledge because he did not have good character or he did not have faith. Then again, the knowledge is lost. So when Krishna is telling to Arjuna the knowledge was lost, he is talking about the Raja Rishi Parampara. He's not talking about Guru Shishya Parampara. You know, that is always there because the upholders of the knowledge of Gita are always there. To give an example, Narad Muni is always there, and he's a perfect teacher of Bhagavad-gita. So anyone wants to be a student, Narad Muni can approach that person and give the knowledge of Gita. Right? So in Guru Shishya Parampara, what happens is the knowledge is never lost. Only sometimes it is manifest, sometimes unmanifest. Means it's weak and strong. But in Rajarishi Parampara, because it's based on family heritage, the knowledge can get lost. And what it means actually that the knowledge is lost, as some of you said that people are not aware of it. So here we read, this purport, not purport exactly, the text from introduction. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad-gita, was first spoken to the sun god. And the sun god explained it to Manu. Who was Manu? He was the son of sun god. And Manu explained to Ikshvaku. Who was Ikshvaku? Again, he was the son of Manu. So father to son, like that. And in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Which parampara? Rajrishi parampara. Okay. Now, another way of looking at it is that when we say the knowledge is lost, it means the proper understanding and application of the knowledge is lost. One may know a shloka of Bhagavad-gita, but one may not know how am I going to apply in my life. And one may not also apply in life. That is called the knowledge is lost, right? Only the dead part of the knowledge is with me. The alive part of the knowledge is not with me. So we have a very good lesson here for all of us.
Please, can you repeat that? Is the last line?
You want me to keep the last slide? Yeah.
The last is just what you said, what is lost and what is not lost?
And first, whose question is this? I cannot see. Smriti.
You just said that something is lost and something is not lost. What did you say?
Prabhuji, the second part of it.
Wait a second. Let me tell the whole thing. In this way, I don't remember. So what I was saying is that the application part and the understanding part of the knowledge is lost.
Prabhuji, you said that the dead part is lost.
Right. The information is not lost. The application and understanding is lost, which means what? For every knowledge, there are two parts. There is a dead part and there is an alive part. The dead part is the information. And the alive part is the understanding and application. So the dead part is available, but the alive part is lost. So here is the lesson for us, very important lesson. This is personal lesson, personal application lesson. Knowledge is kept alive, not by just knowing it or understanding it, but by living it. Knowledge is kept alive by living it, right? So like I ask you a question. If someone knows I should read Bhagavad-gita, but is not reading Bhagavad-gita, does that person know? No, that person doesn't know. Isn't it? So it is kept alive by living it. This is very important for all of us. If we want that people in the future generation should have the knowledge of Gita, we have to keep it alive in our lives, and then we have to pass it down to the next generation. Right? That's how the knowledge is transferred. Okay, clear? So we go to the next one, which is, it's mentioned that Arjuna was chosen by Lord Krishna to start a new parampara. Basanti Mataji had a question also regarding this. Arjuna was chosen to start a new parampara, right? So that knowledge can again be revived in the society. So some quick answers. Why was Arjuna chosen? I want those to answer who have not tried even once till now. Lokesh Prabhu, yes. Hare Krishna. I cannot hear you. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Because Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Because Arjuna was completely surrendered to Krishna, and as Krishna said, "Tum mujhe priya ho."
Okay.
Like he was loved to Krishna.
All right. So one point is that he was a devotee. He was a bhakta. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Kavita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, because Arjuna was Lord Krishna's friend also.
Yeah, he was a friend also. He was not just a friend, he was an intimate friend of
yes.
Krishna, right? Very good point. One more point is there. One was devotee, other was friend. Mohit Prabhu.
Lord Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. The answer is same, Prabhuji. The Arjuna was devotee and intimate friend of Lord Krishna.
Okay, there's one more point which is mentioned in the text. Anyone who knows that, please keep your hand up if you know that point. Otherwise, you keep it down. Okay, we'll ask Prabhu.
Same answer, Prabhuji.
Same answer. So if you have same answer, you can put your hand down. Otherwise, I won't know who amongst you have a different answer, right? Okay. Basanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Arjuna was a direct student of Krishna.
Very good. Mataji has done a good homework. So yes, he was a direct student of Krishna. Huh? So these are the 3 points: a direct student, a devotee, and an intimate friend. Now, someone asked me this question. It was an interesting question. I had never thought about it, but later on I pondered on it. Was Yudhishthir not a devotee of Krishna? Yudhishthir? He was not a devotee? He was, right? And Yudhishthir was also present on the battlefield. Correct? So why did Krishna not play the game of putting Yudhishthir in illusion and then speaking Gita to Yudhishthir? If he had to just put one devotee in illusion and then speak the message of Gita, he could have chosen Yudhishthir, he could have chosen Bhima, he could have chosen Nakul or Sahadev. They were also great devotees of Krishna, right? All 5 Pandavas are great devotees of Krishna, and they have a relationship with Krishna. So why, what is the specific reason for choosing Arjuna only? All of you, please, have a request. You can turn on your mic only when I request you to, otherwise there's some background noise. Okay. Mahesh Prabhu, I give you the chance, and then after that, Hanit Mataji.
Yes, Guruji, because Arjuna had all the qualities that a student should have. You know, he was anaga, he was nishpap, he was, pure in all his actions.
Okay. Yeah. Please give me brief answer. So yes, Arjuna had all the qualities. So you think Yudhishthira Maharaj did not have these qualities? He was not pure. He had any fault as such. He was also quite pure. So what is the specific reason, Hanit Mataji?
Arjuna was the only one who was an intimate friend. Others were friends, others were everything, but intimate friendship, I think, was with Arjuna.
Very good point. Thank you. So now you see, this is a plus point for us, the people who are reading Bhagavad-gita. Why? I spoke this yesterday. I hinted at it. I'll again tell you something. When there's a discussion between two people, there's some question asked, there's answer given. It matters a lot on what is the relationship between them. Because to any question, the answer can be given with different amounts of depth, right? Isn't it? Like, for example, you meet a stranger and a stranger asks you, how are you? Your answer will be very brief. I am fine, thank you. Or you may neglect the question also, whatever. But if your family member who is very close to you and he looks at your face, you are quite sad, and then that person asks you, how are you? Then you may give a very long answer. This happened with me and that happened with me, and because of that, I'm not so happy, or I'm so excited. So you tell more to those people who are very close to you. You reveal more intimate things. So because Arjuna is very intimate friend of Krishna, when Arjuna is asking questions here, Krishna is telling everything. It's like he's opening up fully, That's why in Gita, you will see Krishna telling again and again, Arjuna, I've told you something very confidential, but I have something more confidential to tell you now. Because he's such a close friend, he doesn't want to hide anything. He wants to tell everything. So if in place of Arjuna, there would have been another student of Gita for Krishna, for us, Gita would not have been that sweet, that deep, the way it is now. Because Krishna is speaking Gita to Arjuna. Arjuna is a very close friend. Krishna is telling many, many secret things, which he will not tell to others. And so that is the purpose of Krishna choosing here Arjuna. Because, the knowledge, when it is transferred from a teacher to student, a very important factor is, what is the patrata of the student? Patrata means what is the qualification of the student? Patrata, it is also called adhikar, qualification. You tell the student only as much as is the qualification of the student. You don't tell more than that. Even if you know more than that, you will not tell more than that. Because the student is not qualified to receive it. Makes sense? Because Arjuna was very qualified, Krishna told. And can I tell you something very interesting? The same Gita which Krishna spoke to Arjuna, he spoke to Uddhava also. He spoke to Uddhava. Uddhava was Krishna's a very close friend and messenger, counselor. And in Uddhav Gita, Krishna speaks some more confidential things, which he doesn't speak in Bhagavad-gita. Because Uddhava was more close to Krishna, right? So, and if let's say Krishna would have spoken Bhagavad-gita to someone else who were more intimate than Arjuna, then Gita would have been more interesting and more rich and deep. So people sometimes ask whether the Gita that Krishna spoke to sun god be the same as the Gita Krishna spoke to Arjuna. No, not necessarily. The principle will be the same, but the details will not be the same. Because it depends on the student. Who is the person whom it is being given to? Right? Now, another thing. Yes, Hanit Mataji, you have a question.
Prabhuji, one more thing. Because of the intimate relationship, the kind of questions that Arjuna asked Krishna again and again and again, and that also, I think, revealed a lot of knowledge to us. Correct.
That's true, because Arjuna also had the adhikar or qualification to ask those questions to Krishna. If you are not close, you cannot ask some questions, isn't it? So that was also there. And another thing which we have to know is sometimes people, they misunderstand. They think that, well, if God is giving knowledge, then anyone should understand it. But it is not so. Even Duryodhana was given a lot of good wisdom by Krishna. Don't fight, don't do this, this is not good for you. He went as a peace messenger. But Duryodhana did not listen to Krishna. Right? So here a very evident point comes out is that the teacher has to be very qualified, but a student also has to be very qualified for any stream. And same thing applies to Gita also. A teacher has to be qualified and a student has to be qualified. Then the message of Gita will do a miracle in one's life. Will bring a transformation in one's life. Okay. Any questions up till now before I go to the next section? Vishal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can we interpret it like this, that if Krishna is teaching Arjuna, then there are two people. Hanumanji was also there on the flag of Arjuna.
Yeah, Hanumanji was there, but actually the presence of Hanuman is present there for a different reason. Not that Krishna has to speak Gita to Hanumanji, not for that reason, right? So that would be out of the context a bit.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Vasanti ma'am.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. After Kurukshetra war, I think Arjuna again went and asked Krishna, you gave me Bhagavad-gita, but I was so confused during that time. Can you repeat it? It seems first he said no, and later again Krishna repeated, and that is called as Anugita.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. That is called Anugita. Anugita can mean a repetition of Gita. Anu means to repeat or to follow, right? So that's called Anugita. But then in Anugita, Krishna doesn't cover everything. He only summarizes the Karma Yoga section of Gita.
We have that in written form.
Anugita is there, yes, in Mahabharata it is there. But then it is not complete. It is just a specific part of the whole Gita, focusing more on the karma aspect. In Gita, there are three aspects: karma, jnana, and yoga, and bhakti. Sorry,
bhakti.
Karma and bhakti. So that Anugita focuses on the karma aspect more.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Arati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Just one question in the sense, the Bhagavad Gita that we are following, you said there are two paramparas, right? The Guru Shishya parampara and then the Rajarshi parampara. In Bhagavad Gita as it is, is it Guru Shishya parampara that we are following?
Yes, it is Guru Shishya.
Okay.
Because it is not like one father giving the knowledge to son, no? Rajarshi was like a family heritage.
Okay.
Right? But Guru Shishya is like, okay, there is a person who is qualified to be Guru and there is another person who is qualified to be student. They may not have any blood relationship, but then the knowledge is given.
Okay, because Arjuna is not coming in that succession, whatever.
Yeah, because the thing is that then that parampara from Arjuna, Arjuna's parampara is Rajarshi parampara that is being spoken. Now, in our Bhagavad Gita, the parampara which is given, that is of the parampara to which Srila Prabhupada belongs, the author of this Gita. You are understanding? Okay. So he is giving the parampara to whom he belongs.
Okay.
Because he is authoring the commentary on this particular Gita. He's giving that parampara. But there is no difference. There can be different paramparas, there can be different systems, but the concept, the principles are going to be the same. It's just like, one university offering a medical course and another university offering the same medical course. Right? Isn't it? The knowledge is going to be the same. Just the teachers will be different, the infrastructure will be different, the books may be different. But then you don't differentiate between, this is not a doctor and this is a doctor because he passed out from this university and he doesn't pass out from that university. Like that. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Mohit.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My question is that how we can develop the quality like Arjuna? Is it revealed in the further section?
Thank you for that question. We will come to that answer later. We'll be discussing in detail later, right? How to develop those qualities. And we have one question in the chat box. If information is a dead part of knowledge, yes, it is. If it is just an information, it is just a dead part. That's why such knowledge is called burden. It's only a burden of information. It's dead. It's not helping you. So it's a dead part of that knowledge, right? So thank you, Sunita Math. You have a question?
I just want to ask, we should read Uddhav Gita as well, or?
There's no harm in reading Uddhav Gita. It is there in Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 11. But if you understand Bhagavad Gita nicely, then go for Uddhav Gita. Because Uddhav Gita is a bit more complicated, more philosophical in nature, right? So best is first to understand Gita and then do go for Uddhav Gita. Huh?
Oh, thank you.
Fine. So I move to the next section, which is Krishna in the introduction. Then it's written, Arjuna was a devotee of Krishna. He had a relationship with Krishna. Only Arjuna has a relationship with Krishna? No, everyone that exists has a relationship with Krishna, because everyone that exists comes from Krishna, right? A devotee has a relationship with God, and one who is not a devotee also has a relationship with God. No one is not related to God. Everyone is related to God. Some may accept it, some may not accept it. So, but only a devotee can understand Gita, because he or she is trying to revive that relationship, re-establish that relationship. And that relationship can be of 5 types, called 5 primary rasas. You must have read this also in the text. Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Actually, all the kind of relationships we have, even in the mundane world, they belong to one of these 5. You consider any relationship, they belong to one of these 5. Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. In English, passive, active, friend, parent, conjugal, lover. Like giving us very crude example, so it becomes easy for us to understand. If let's say you are a singer, a very nice classical singer, and someone follows your YouTube channel, okay, watches your albums, listens to the music that you make, and loves to hear you, but that's all, nothing more than that, then what kind of relationship is that?
Shanta relationship.
Shanta, passive. There is appreciation, there is admiration, there is adoration also. I like him, I follow him, or I follow her, but nothing more than that. This is called Shanta. So people, if they say God is great, that is what? Shanta. I like God, Shanta. There is some appreciation. Fine, this is the most basic type of relationship. Then the next is Dasya. So very simple. If that person who is your fan or follower, he or she then wants to do something for you, some kind of say or something for you, some service. So that would become Dasya, active. Now the next is active. Some service is there, some reciprocation is there, wants to do something for your pleasure. That's called Dasya, active. Then the third, now to that service you add a sense of equality, which means, you know, there is a feeling of oneness. There is a feeling of teamship, that we do it together, we work together, we eat together, we play together, we have fun together, we work in a project together. So that's called friendship. Working together, there's a bond, more close bond. And then in friendship, generally, you must have seen this, those who are your childhood buddies or friends, they would, you know, be very nice to you, play with you, but they may not always care about you. They won't be so much concerned whether you have eaten properly or you have slept properly. Their whole purpose is, let's just play, you know, let's have fun, you know, but they don't have that motherly or fatherly approach. There's no care. There's no feeling of, you know, you may get hurt, or you have not taken proper rest. So they don't think so much about your well-being. So the next level is parent, who feels that the child is dependent on me. I have to care, I have to provide. That's called Vatsalya. And the last is, there's a lot of intimacy. Then there's conjugal, lover, husband and wife, or a girlfriend and boyfriend relationship. That's conjugal love. Okay. Now, the last one is most complete. because the last one has the qualities of the previous ones also. And all the living entities that exist, they have one of these 5 relationships with God, or they can have one of these 5 relationships with God based on their interest, their nature, their inclination, or their original swarup or constitutional position. Like, so we can give you very simple examples. If there is, okay. If we will not talk about Golok Vrindavan, because there everything which is passive also is not passive, it's active. But let's say in Vaikuntha planet, where Lord Vishnu resides, you know. So Lord Vishnu has conch shell in his hand. Conch shell. You have seen Lord Vishnu has conch shell in his hand. That conch shell is not dead. In the spiritual world, in the planet of Lord Vishnu, that conch shell is not dead. The conch shell which we have here in this world, that is dead. But that is not dead conch shell, right? That's alive. So that conch shell is in which relationship with Lord Vishnu? Shanta, passive. Okay, passive. If there is a grass on which Lord Vishnu is walking, that grass is in which relationship with Lord Vishnu? Shanta. If there is a tree, you know, and that tree is like thinking or desiring, may the Lord come and sit in my shade, then what is the nature of that relationship? Though there is some desire to serve, but it is in a passive manner. So again, it is Shanta. I'm not going so much into deep of this subject, because in another book we discuss this in very detail. That's called Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where these 5 relationships are covered with so much of depth and examples. But here Srila Prabhupada is making a point. Only when a person is in one of these 5 relationships can that person understand Krishna's message. Or one who is desiring to revive these relationships can understand this message. Yes, Ratna Lekha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'm just asking, in our relationship, we are constantly serving. So are we going to be constantly in the Dasya relationship, and how do we get further? Are you going to explain that later? Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Our relationship with Lord Krishna at present stage of our Krishna consciousness is that it is not just Dasya, it can be actually any of these moods internally, but because we are not that advanced, externally it is the mood of Dasya. There are two approaches. One is the internal approach and one other is the external approach. Because our internal conscience is not so developed now, not so pure now. So we don't talk about the internal approach. We only talk about the external approach. And the external approach is the mood of das, servant. I want to serve God. You know, that also not that I want to directly serve God. I want to serve those who are serving God. So we take a different approach, a different medium. And why we do that, that we'll discuss later. Again, that's not a topic of Gita now. So you are correct in that sense. You can say it is Dasya. Okay? Fine? Yes, Smriti Karuna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Dasya Bhav is present in all the rasas. Is it would also be in the Shant rasa also, Prabhuji?
Dasya Bhav is? It
is present in all the rasas. Dasya Bhav.
The attitude of service is there in all the rasas. But here Dasya does not just mean service, it means active service.
All right. So it is also there in Shant rasa.
Yeah, Shanta also there is a mood of service. No, because if there is no mood of service, that person will not be called a devotee.
Absolutely.
Correct? But then that service is a passive service. Just like if someone, as I gave the example, someone is following your music tracks on YouTube, that person is doing some service to you by appreciating you, adoring you. But then it's passive. It is from some distance. Isn't it? There is no closeness there. But then as we move down, then there is intimacy, there is closeness. Okay, so that's how we understand it. All right. Let me tell you something very interesting. Now, those who want to worship God in a way that God is Nirakar, He doesn't have a form, it doesn't have a shape, He is an energy. They may also worship God properly, but they belong to the first rasa, which is Shanta, passive. And that also not matured passive, that is little passive appreciation is there. Okay, right spirit. Someone can kindly read this paragraph. Are you able to see the screen? I think no. Let me share it. Yes. Please, someone read this. Gupta. Is that Seema Gupta? I don't know.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Right spirit. Bhagavad-gita should be taken up in a right spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Unless one reads the Bhagavad-gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad-gita because it is a great mystery. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So very difficult to understand Gita because it's a great mystery. So what we should do at our stage is that as a student of Bhagavad-gita, we should at least theoretically accept that Krishna is God. Whether we may understand, may not understand, theoretically, yes, Krishna is God, supreme God. Then Gita will make sense. Now, as we spoke to you before, we give you a 5-minute break. You can do whatever you like to do during this time, all right? And we'll see you after 5 minutes.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna. Welcome back. So we discussed about the right spirit of studying Bhagavad-gita. The next slide that we have to talk about is anxieties. Like I mentioned, the purpose of Gita is given become free from anxieties. So why there is anxiety? Now one may say there is anxiety because I don't have a good job, or I'm not yet having a proper shelter, a house, or whatever. There can be different reasons for a person to be anxious about something. But the main reason for us being anxious is two things, two aspects of it. We have fear of losing what we have, and we have fear of not gaining what we want. Because of there is anxiety. I fear that what I have, I'll not have it anymore. And I fear that what I want, I will not get it. Okay? You understand that? So I have that fear that I have something, it will be lost, it will be taken away by whomsoever, or I want certain things and I will not get them. So this is the reason for anxiety, the root cause of anxiety. The other things are all superficial, that I don't have this thing, that thing, I want this, I want that. Those are the superficial things. But this is the main core reason. And why this problem? Why do we have anxiety? Please try to understand it from philosophical point of view, from spiritual perspective. The reason we have anxiety because Prabhupada writes this one line, our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Non-existence means asat. Asat means something which is temporary. Now, the point which he's trying to make is that we are existing in a place which is temporary. Everything in this world is temporary. Everything, every single thing actually, And we are always in anxiety because of that. Why? Because our nature is that, our core nature is that we want things to be permanent if we like them. We want them to exist forever. Right? We dream about that. We desire that. But the nature of this world is that though we may want it, it will not happen. And because of that, there is always this fear. I will lose it. It may not happen like this. It may happen like that. So on and forth. So I am Sat, and I am existing in an atmosphere which is Asat. And because of that, there is compatibility issue. Just like you cannot mix oil and water together. Likewise, I am in a place which is of a very different nature than my nature. So that's why I'm always very, very uncomfortable in such atmosphere. That's the point. So the purpose of Gita is what then? Very simple. That was the problem described. What is the purpose then? Can one of you please read? Let me call your name if you don't mind to read. Guru Mayam Prabhu, would you like to read? Please.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. The purpose of Bhagavad-gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad-gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is in full of anxieties because of this material existence. Hare Krishna.
So Arjuna was in anxiety because of this material existence, and we also are in anxiety because of that. There is no other reason for us to be anxious. This is the reason. And it's going to be for all of us forever, as long as we are in the material real. We'll be always in anxiety. Right? So a lesson, a very important lesson. Human struggle should not be to have permanency in a place where nothing is permanent. That should not be our struggle. We are investing a lot in this struggle. A lot of our time, a lot of our resources, our energy, our intelligence in making that place permanent which is not permanent and which cannot be permanent. The whole struggle is about that. So much of effort. And because it's like, trying to swim against the current, it's really going to be frustrating. We may try different ways to do it, using our intelligence, making plans, but then we'll be frustrated in those attempts, right? So what should a human being do then? If this is not what a human being is supposed to do, then what should a human being do? A human being should not struggle, but inquire why the struggle is there. Why am I being made to struggle like this? That question should come. I don't want to struggle, but I am being, made to struggle. So why? And this inquiry this inquiry marks the beginning of spiritual life, actually. Let me tell you something very interesting. If I have not made this question, and I have not thought about this question, then what we are practicing is not spiritual life. It is only religious rituals. That's all. Only religious rituals. I have some attraction to some kind of a religion, and that religion has some rituals. I have some attraction towards those rituals because they belong to my culture, and I follow that. Spiritual means this inquiry should be there about the permanent, not the temporary. What is permanent? Then the spiritual journey begins, the inner journey. Like there's the book, The Journey Home, The Journey Within, that begins. So what should a human being do then? What is the purpose? Jigyasa, inquire, as I mentioned, inquire. There are different kinds of inquiries or jigyasas. Artha jigyasa, dharma jigyasa, brahma jigyasa. Different kinds of inquiries. We all are asking questions. We are all always inquiring, making efforts to know something. We have curiosity. We want to know why this, how this, what is this. We are always asking, inquiring. So there are different types of inquiry. One is called Artha Jigyasa. Artha Jigyasa is, how will I get money? Economic development. That's Artha Jigyasa. The next is Dharma Jigyasa. What are my duties? I am a father. What are my duties? I am a mother. What are my duties? I am a student, teacher. I am working in this company and employee. What are my duties, right? I'm a citizen of so-and-so country. What are my duties? That's called Dharma Jigyasa. What am I supposed to do? And the last is Brahma Jigyasa. Brahma Jigyasa means to inquire about the absolute truth and to inquire about the self. Who am I? That's Brahma Jigyasa. And this is the highest level of inquiry. And a human being should do this along with the others. Not that a human being should not do the first one, the second one. He should do or she should do. But the ultimate thing that one should inquire about is Brahma Jigyasa. Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa. A human being is supposed to do that. Inquire about truths, about life. Okay? And inquire this thing also, that I don't want to be a miserable person. I want to be always happy. I want to always smile, always be bright, joyful, right? But why is life so difficult? That do I want to be like this? I cannot be always like this. Why is it so? Then some people will say, that's how life it is. Just accept it. Don't worry. Don't think so much about it. You know. So they will say, that's how life is. Good and bad, bitter and sweet. This all is part of life. Just accept the life the way it is, right? But the person who is actually very positive of living a completely joyful life will think, no, I want to experience that happiness every moment. Let me see if that possibility can come true. So that person will inquire, why am I suffering? Everyone in this world goes through stages of suffering. Not that, there are exceptions to this. People suffer. They may suffer for some moments in the day, or they may suffer for some weeks or some months. Some people, they suffer throughout the life, but everyone has the experience of suffering. So one should ask, why am I suffering? And interestingly, that those who are studying Gita, they have asked this question. That's why they are studying Gita. They have asked this question to themselves. Why life is like this? I don't want life like to be this, right? So the next thing which I want to ask you is it true or not that in this world everyone suffers? To some extent or not? Whether you are rich or poor or famous, not famous, anything. Everyone suffers, yes, right? To some extent. So why there are people who suffer but not inquire? There are people like that. Why? Why they are not inquiring? Because there are pleasures also. Very good point. Yes, there is happiness in this world also. We cannot deny that. There is happiness. But then what they do, they only focus on the happiness. They are very positive. They are very optimistic. Is that the reason? That's why they don't think about the suffering or inquire about the suffering. What is the reason? Yes, Kavita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, because they all the time keep blaming the Lord.
Okay.
And they don't want to inquire.
They keep blaming the Lord.
Yeah, easy way out to blame God.
Yes, they will say, like, interestingly, some people say, why God made this place like this? Why could he not make this place a very happy place? You know, so they put the blame on God. That is because of him that we are suffering. So one interesting answer has come in the chat box, because they enjoy the swinging of these two. they like the, you know, flavor of happiness and sadness. Like if it's only happiness, then it's going to get boring. So some happiness and some sadness. So they like the flavor of that. Okay, they don't even know there is a solution to this problem. Okay, because they have shortcuts. They're under illusion. It's about everyone. Okay, very good point. Yes, people will say, everyone is like that, so why should I be different? You know, everyone is suffering and everyone is enjoying, so my life can also be like that. Why should I be an odd man out? Let me accept. Everyone has accepted it like that, isn't it? So let me also accept. Yes, Harneet Mataji.
So Prabhuji, maybe, you know, their conditioning is such that they don't know that by inquiring, they can actually get solutions, and they'll have to work towards the solution.
All right. Yes, they are conditioned. They are programmed to think like that because of their own habits or nature, right? They cannot think out of the box, right? Okay, and thinking it is part of life. Smriti Guruna Mataji. Unmute, please.
We don't realize that we are actually suffering.
They don't realize. Okay, there are some people who realize also. You know, like there are many people I know. If you talk to them, they will say, "Oh, the world is so bad. I'm so frustrated." But if you tell them, "Okay, please read Bhagavad-gita. Please come to the temple. Please become little submissive to God." And then, no, don't tell me all this thing, you know. But they'll keep on then telling the stories of how life is bad for them. So they accept that there is suffering. So there are people who accept also that there is suffering. Yes, Madhumalti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Because of the ignorance and the lack of knowledge, they think this is a part of the life.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, fine. Good. Ratna Lekha Gopik Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think some of them are following the wrong people, and secondly, some of them think that they are the Lord. So
They are the Lord.
that is wrong.
Okay, good. Kavya Mataji.
Instead of inquiring with the God or asking for the questions, they start blaming others. They will blame others because of so and so person, we are suffering all these things.
Yeah, okay. Playing the blame game, that because of others we are suffering. So let those others be, you know, kicked out of my life. Then my life will be very nice. You know. Next, Anju Mataji. Yep. Yes.
Yeah, Prabhuji, because of our conditioned, like contaminated consciousness.
Contaminated consciousness. Okay, good. Anyone has a different answer? If yes, then please keep your hand up. Anupurna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There are a few people who inquire and they know they are suffering, but there is fear to follow the path because people around are following the same path, which is like how one must proceed in life. And so it is very difficult for many people to, okay, if I do this way, then what will happen, or how others will react to our thoughts. Even if we discuss like this is this way and this is that way, so people inquire, what is this? Why are you thinking like this way?
Okay.
You have to.
So they know they are suffering, but they have reservations. Like the path to the solution of suffering is not something they can have faith in. That's why they don't want to go for it. Kashinath Priya Prabhu.
Prabhuji, it may be because of controllership tendency. because sometimes we feel that yes, there are sufferings here, but I want to fix it from my own. I do not want to be dependent on somebody. I will fix it from my own.
Yeah. Because of this thinking that, okay, there is a problem, but I can always solve my problems. I can always solve my problems. There is a problem and I can always solve it. If I cannot solve it, I can take help of others to solve it. But there's a solution to it. I can work it around, by my endeavors. Vishal Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, mainly because of the comfort zone where they are into and they don't want to come out of that, number one.
Comfort.
Yeah, and second is that maybe the ego, how can other teach them what is wrong and what is right?
Okay, good. All right. Okay, two more answers I'll take, then we'll stop on this question. Vasanti Mataji and Bindu Mataji. Yeah, first Vasanti Mataji, then Bindu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Suffering but not inquiring is probably they do not know the purpose of their life, according to me. They don't know the spirit of our life and they don't know about their past karmas.
All right.
And they don't want to learn it also. That is what I feel.
Very, thank you. Bindu Mataji. Yeah, unmute yourself, please. You have to unmute from the Zoom screen, the panel. There's an option there. If you're using a computer device, see at the bottom there is unmute option. On the left bottom side, there's a microphone icon. You click on that. Or you click on this button on the screen now. Can you see?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhuji, they generally they don't inquire because in they say karma. Let's see God what they want to teach us.
Okay. So they say it's because of their karma. So they accept it as a part of life, basically, right? And they will say that they don't know they are suffering. Okay, good. So one reason is because Prabhupada writes in the purport also. You can read the purport, actually, I can read for you. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about their position as to what they are, why they are put in this awkward position and so on, right? So why others are not inquiring? The others are not inquiring due to this reason. There can be many reasons like you pointed out, but there is one main reason. They have hope that because of some change in life, they can experience that permanent happiness in this world. That hope is there. There's a hope. And people call this hope as being optimistic. But this is not optimism. This is not optimism because you are trying to hope for something which is not possible. That's not called optimism. That is called foolishness. Isn't it? So the nature of the world is that it is not permanent. And they have a hope that things can be made permanent in this world. And this hope is there. And because of that hope, though there is suffering, there is struggle, they think one day will come when my life will not be like this. There will be a jackpot that day, and then life will change. Then I'll be the king or the queen, then all my dreams will come true and that day will come. And that hope is there, very strong hope. And if, let's say, you start losing on that hope, then people will say, no, don't give up. Good. Don't give up. God is very kind. God is very merciful. He will help you realize your goals, your ambitions. You can do that. So these kind of thinking patterns make that people never inquire, what is the real solution to my problems? So Prabhupada writes, out of many, many human beings who awaken. What is meant by who awaken? Who realize that they are suffering. Who awaken, who realize that they are suffering. There may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position. Right? And for him, the Gita is spoken. For such a person, Bhagavad-gita is spoken. And that person will understand Bhagavad-gita also. Because there is a problem and the solution is there in the book. Right? So this is, okay, I have find some comments there. Is there a question, Madhu Malati Mataji? Your hand is up, or you wanted to answer the previous question? No reply. Next point, which I really want to emphasize upon, when I was teaching Gita diploma course on Hare Krishna TV, one of the students were message in the comment box, and his point was that this Gita, which is being written, which is being explained, the Gita written by Srila Prabhupada, is not correct, because his argument was, in this Gita, at some places it is written Arjuna is a devotee, a pure devotee, and in other places it's written that Arjuna is in illusion. So his point was, either Arjuna should be a pure devotee or Arjuna should be in illusion. It cannot be both the things together, right? So very important for us to understand the whole setup. Was Arjuna really ignorant? What does Prabhupada write? Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. So was Arjuna in ignorance? No. Arjuna was for some time put into that kind of situation that he could act like an ordinary person and ask questions. And then the answers that Lord will give will be beneficial for all of us. Correct? So that time Arjuna was in illusion. It is correct. But Arjuna was in spiritual illusion, not material illusion. There are two kinds of illusion, spiritual and material. That's why for the spiritual illusion in Sanskrit, we use the word yoga maya. And for material illusion, we use the word mahamaya. Yoga maya, mahamaya. Both are illusions, but one is spiritual, the other is material. Arjuna was not in material illusion. Arjuna was in spiritual illusion. No? It was a part of the game, part of the plan of Lord Krishna. Different from ordinary people. They are in illusion because of some other reason. So Arjuna was used, it's like a drama. In a drama, there are different people who are given different roles and responsibilities. Correct? So Arjuna was given the role to be an ignorant person. Ask questions like an ignorant person. And then Arjuna was just playing that role. But he was playing it perfectly. So it appears that he is really in illusion. He is not in illusion. Even in this world, sometimes you see people who are movie actors or actresses. They get so much into the role which they have to play on the stage that they really start feeling like that. And they forget that I am a different person. I'm acting to be something different. They so much enter into that mood. So like that, Arjuna is fully into that mood that I am an ignorant person, is asking questions. But those questions are meant for us to get the answer. He is not in ignorance. He's playing a role. I'll come to that later. And in the last line, you can see, chalk out the plan of life. Lord Krishna is using Arjuna to chalk out the plan of life. Plan of life means how we should be acting so that we can come out of that illusion. And the Lord does that, and Acharyas, they do that. I can tell you a story about Srila Prabhupada now, because we are studying the book of Bhagavad-gita as is written by Srila Prabhupada, commented upon by Srila Prabhupada. as all of you know, is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So in this picture, you see there is Srila Prabhupada. He's having garland around his neck and is sitting. And there is a person who is offering arati to him, right? There's a person who is offering arati to him. So the name of that person is His Holiness Giriraj Swami. He is a sannyasi now, lives in US. So he was an American citizen, born to American parents. And he belonged to a very rich family. But when he was young, just passed out from his college, he happened to meet Srila Prabhupada in US and then decided to become a student, a committed student. So he came to India, Giriraj Swami Maharaj came to India, and then his parents came all the way from US to meet him in India. At that time, the parents, they wanted to request Srila Prabhupada that you please, give our son back to us so that he can continue the job, the profession we have, and he can be an indirect member of your society. So Srila Prabhupada told Giriraj Swami, you want to go? You can go. I'm not stopping you. And then Giriraj Swami said, no, I would like to stay here and be with you, spend some time with you, learn from you, do some service to you. So at that time, this father of Giriraj Swami, when he was leaving Mayapur place, he told his son that, you know something, I really like two things about your guru. Two things about your guru. He said that he is he has very good organizational capabilities, organizational skills. He is able to maintain a very good organization, and he really knows how to deal with people. So he marked out these two qualities in Srila Prabhupada. And Giriraj Maharaj, when he recalls those days now, he says that his father was very specific and particular about speaking good about others. He really spoke good about others. He never found good qualities in others. So if he happened to speak good about someone, you should know he's really touched by that person, inspired by that person. So he mentioned about Srila Prabhupada these two things. Why I'm bringing out this point is how we can attain spiritual success. There is a plan for that. For every individual soul, how that person can realize himself or herself, there is a plan, there is a strategy. And we ourselves are not that capable that we can make that plan for ourselves because we are in the problem. We are not out of the problem. Only those who are out of the problem, they can make the plan to help us come out of the problem. Like Einstein, he said, the brain which has created a problem cannot solve it. You need a brain higher than that to solve that problem. So likewise, the present situation of us is that we are in anxiety. That's our state of existence, mind. To come out of that anxiety, there has to be a solution. And we cannot design that solution on our own. So who does that designing part for us? God does, or the acharyas? They do. Acharya means the great teachers. They do. So Srila Prabhupada, in order to facilitate that, he established the society called ISKCON on the basis of teachings of Bhagavad-gita. And there's a very interesting account. When Srila Prabhupada left this world, this whole huge, big international organization was not having one person to lead it. There was a group of people who were leading this organization. At that time, these students of Srila Prabhupada, they went to a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, a very exalted Vaishnava devotee of Krishna, and they told him, requested him, you please come and you take the position of our Srila Prabhupada, and you guide us how we can run this international society for helping people become devotees of Krishna. You know what that person said? That person said that only a genius like your guru, Srila Prabhupada, could make an international society to help people understand Bhagavad-gita, live Bhagavad-gita, and spread the message of Bhagavad-gita. And he said, no one can take that position. So you don't ask me to do this job. You just go back and let your Srila Prabhupada carry out this duty of leading the world, leading the people of this world to understand Bhagavad-gita and applying their life. So the point I wanted to make here is chalking out the plan of life, spiritual life, is to be done with the help of the Supreme Lord and the representatives of the Supreme Lord. Here, Arjuna is also acting as that representative. One question was there in the chat box, what's the name of that god brother? That is His Holiness Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, a very close god brother of Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna teaches in two ways. What are those two ways? One, his devotees, they preach the message of Gita, like Srila Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad-gita as it is. And the second, his pure devotees participate in some pastimes to teach lessons to the people in general. So Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is which one of these two? The second one. Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is the second one. Participating in a pastime to teach people what should be done, what should not be done. Okay? That means Arjuna is not like this. He is just acting like that. Very important for us to understand that. Very important. He is just being used as a tool to teach us Bhagavad-gita. And Krishna will use only such people who are very close to Lord Krishna. He will not use anyone and everyone to teach others. You know why? Because if Krishna uses us like that, we may spoil the game of Krishna. Very simple reason. Krishna will tell us, act as a fool. And we say, no, I don't want to act as a fool. I'm a very smart person. So I don't want to act as a fool. But Arjuna was so dedicated to Krishna. Krishna told, now you act as a fool. Arjuna, okay, act as a fool. Right? So they will help Krishna in his project, in his plan. So Krishna uses them, engages them, right? But then we should know they are not like ordinary person. So when you read Bhagavad-gita as it is, why I'm telling you this, because you'll get confused. In some places it appears Arjuna is such a nice devotee. And in some places it appears Arjuna is such a fool. So then we will think, who is Arjuna? Is he a fool or a devotee? Right? And in this situation, actually is both. One is he's acting like that, and the other is that he is a devotee, but acting like a fool. So then understanding Gita will become easier for us because he's playing both the roles. Devotee role also and a fool role also. Okay, two roles are there. Two roles, one character, two roles. This is one section of the introduction. Any questions till now what we discussed? And whatever we discussed, is that a lot for you to digest, or can you go to the next section? Mohit. Yes, you can ask question now. Mohit. Unmute yourself, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you listen me?
Yes.
My question is that Arjuna is acting like a fool. Is it mean that Arjuna acting is in a such real way so that we are realizing that he is in ignorance? Is he acting is very realistic? We can say that.
Oh yeah, yes. He's acting in a very realistic manner. So that's why we will think that Arjuna is really a fool. Yes, he's a very good actor.
Okay. Dhanyavad Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, any other question from this section? Krishna, Gita, Arjuna, Smriti Karuna Mataji.
I don't know, Prabhuji, whether should I ask this question. Prabhuji, were the questions of Parikshit Maharaj in a similar mood as Arjuna?
Parikshit Maharaj about what? Asking about death. What is the duty of a person?
The questions he asked Shukdev Goswami and Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, Parikshit Maharaj was also a pure devotee of Krishna. So there are many things he knew already. There are many things he knew already. Okay. No other question? We can move on. Shall we move on? We still have 20 minutes left. Shall we go to the next?
Prabhuji, continue.
Continue. So the next section is then 5 basic truths. Now this is a very difficult section, but very important. These are the 5 things that Bhagavad-gita teaches. This is the subject matter of Gita. 5 basic truths. 5 tattvas. Truth means in Sanskrit it's called tattva. So 5 truths. Which are these truths? I give you a table to help you understand it easily. The 5 truths are Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. Okay? Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. In English that translates as Supreme Lord, living entity. Am I sharing? No, I'm not sharing. Okay, you should have told me. Fine. So 5 basic truths. This is the table. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. Supreme Lord, living entity, material nature, eternal time, activity. 5 truths explained in Bhagavad-gita. 5 things explained in Bhagavad-gita. The whole Gita is about these 5. The relationship between them, interconnection between them, differences between them, what happens when they come together, all that is explained. 5 things. So what is the nature of the Ishvara, Supreme Lord? Ishvara means controller. So he is the supreme controller. What does he control? Everything below. He controls the jivas, he controls the prakriti, he controls time, he controls activities. Supreme controller. Everything, right? Everything. Supreme controller. So this Ishvara is called by different names. Some call him as Paramatma, some call him as Parameshwara, some call him as Bhagavan, some call him as Absolute Truth, Param Satya. Okay, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, like that. Then Jiva, Prakriti and Kala, they are what? They are energies. Energies. But they are different type of energy. The Jiva is related energy, Prakriti is separated energy, Kala is destructive energy. Related, separated, destructive. Different energies. God has many energies, many, so many that we cannot even name them all. But then we can put them in broad classifications. So these are the different energies. If there is a controller, then that person will have control, isn't it? Simple. How do you control? Through energies. So there is energy related, separated, destructive. Now out of these 5, 4 of them, the first 4 are eternal. Eternal. Which means they exist forever. And the last one is not eternal. Why karma is not eternal? Because karma refers to an activity which I do within the material world. When I have material body, that's called karma. But I can end it at some point of time. I can finish it completely, stop it. That's why it's called non-eternal. It's related to the body, not to the soul. Right? It's non-eternal. It can be stopped. In some life, it can be stopped. But the other 4, they're eternal. Time is eternal, nature is eternal, living entity eternal, the Lord is eternal. And of these, who all are conscious? Only the first 2 are conscious. Conscious means what? We'll see that later. The rest are not. Okay. Ishvara, as I said, is controller. That's why it's called Ishvara. Jiva, Jivanti iti Jivaha. What is the meaning of Jiva? One who lives. That's called Jiva. So we all are Jivas because we are living. Jivanti iti Jivaha. And then Prakriti, the nature, the world around us. Kala is the time, eternal time. And karma is what we do. These 5 subject matters are the most complicated subject matters. And because Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana, a great Vaishnava Acharya, explained these topics in detail, Srila Prabhupada dedicated his Bhagavad-gita to Baladeva Vidyabhushana, which you see on the first page of Bhagavad-gita as it is, dedicated to Baladeva Vidyabhushana. Because he wrote masterpiece explanation on these 5 topics. Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Prakriti, and Karma. Okay. I have a question, a homework question. Very interesting. You can do a research on this and tell me next week. When we say Kala or eternal time, is this what you see in the watch or clock? Think about it properly in next class you take. And if it is not, then what is that? What is that what you see in the watch and clock? How is it different or how is it same as Kala? Think about it. This is for you to think later, not now. So you have 5 days to think about it. Questions or their hands up are for questions? Yes?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Ratna Lekha Mataji. I'll
Hare
come.
Krishna Prabhu, I don't understand how Prakriti can be eternal, because you're saying it relates to this material world, and this material world is an illusion. So how can it be eternal? Can you explain that, please, Prabhu? Hare
Because
Krishna.
it is an eternal illusion. Not an eternal illusion for you individually speaking, but the concept is an eternal illusion. Getting it? Just like in a, let's say in a city, there is a jail, a prison house. So that jail is not an eternal residence for a particular prisoner. But the concept of prison house is an eternal concept. As long as the city is there, the prison house will also be there.
Thank you. I understand now. Thank you.
Right? Okay. Guru Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Here it is mentioned that Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is the Supreme Controller. And my question related to this is that in some part of the text, I don't know in which portion of the Bhagavad-gita, it says that the Lord will not interfere in our free will. So there is a conflict between the jiva, the jiva's free will and the Supreme Controller, if he's able to control even our free will. And there's something that he said that he will not interfere in our free will. Can you just elaborate on this part, Prabhuji?
I'll come to that later. Okay. In the other slide we discuss about it. Okay.
Okay.
Free will. What is the concept of free will? Fine. Smriti Karunamati.
Roger, earlier when you were telling that the information part is lost and the knowledge part is not lost, is that the reason why Lord says that the knowledge appears to be lost? Please use the word appears there.
Yes, appears. Appears means it seems it is lost. Because it is lost for some. It is not actually lost, isn't it? The Lord knows it. The pure devotees of Lord know it. So it cannot be lost completely. But it appears to be lost means in a particular lineage or family or heritage, it appears to be lost. People are not really sticking to it. Okay? Santoshi.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I have the doubt ki, is God equal to time? Is time equal to God?
Is God equal to time? Your question is that?
Yes.
Okay. Very good question. Is God same as time? If it was same as time, then it would not have been mentioned here as a separate truth. Right? It is kept separately, no? So that means that it cannot be same. It has relation, it has connection, but it's not the same. So we'll study later. What is time? Time is an energy of God. Energy of God. But because it is related to God, sometimes it can be said that God is time or time is God. We'll come to that again. You know, this is like understanding the relationship between time and God. We'll come to that again. All right? Okay? Kashinath Priya Prabhu.
Prabhuji, you mentioned that this material nature is not conscious, but somewhere I heard that this material nature is under the control of Krishna, and Krishna directs it, and accordingly material nature acts. And how it is not conscious.
Okay. So I hope others understood this question. Here it's mentioned that material nature is not conscious, but then the material nature works as per the direction given by Lord Krishna. So how is it not conscious? Right? Material nature is not conscious, but the presiding deity behind material nature is conscious. The presiding deity behind material nature is Durga Devi. She is conscious. They try to understand material nature refers to the material energy, and there is a deity of that energy, that is Durga. Durga is conscious, but that nature is not conscious. Just like take the example of a building, right? There's an owner living in the building. The owner is conscious, and that owner will do so many things within the building, but the building is not conscious. No? So the material nature is working under the direction of Krishna means what? Durga Devi is working under the direction of Krishna. Got it?
Understood.
Satya Devta.
Yeah. Prabhuji, this again connecting material nature and probably material world I'm mixing up. The material world gets created and annihilated number of times, right, Prabhu? So in that context, why do we call it as eternal?
Because the concept is eternal.
Concept is eternal. So that means the world coming in, annihilating, that cycle is eternal.
That is eternal. That will always happen.
Okay.
So the idea is it is manifested, unmanifested, manifested, unmanifested. But the concept is eternal. Now Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example. The cloud comes, the cloud goes away. The cloud comes, the cloud goes away.
Okay.
Right?
Understood.
The cloud is an eternal concept. But sometimes it is visible, sometimes not visible. Manifest, unmanifest.
Okay. Yeah, you just explained about the person behind it. Otherwise, I was about to ask you, because several places I read it as like the matter is dead, dull. Those are the words being always used for the matter and material. This one.
Yes, yes. So there's a person behind Durga. Okay. She is conscious. Yes.
Okay, understand.
Vasanti Murali.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There is a line here. This material nature is my inferior prakriti, but beyond this is another prakriti, Jiva Bhutam, the living entities. Can you please explain? Inferior prakriti.
Yeah. See here in the table, there is Jiva and Prakriti, correct?
Yes, yes.
So this material nature, which is unconscious energy of Krishna, that is inferior. Why it is inferior? It does not have consciousness.
Okay.
And the next is Jiva Bhuta, that is superior energy of Krishna. Why it is superior? Because it has consciousness.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
That's why inferior and superior.
Superior.
Okay. Very simple to understand, no? Because Jiva is conscious and Ishvara is conscious, it makes Jiva quite close to Ishvara in nature. So that's why it is superior. Okay. Anjana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, I
Hello.
can. Yes, I can.
My question is that even though so many types of Gita present, they are like we discussed Anugita, Astavakra Gita. Why only Bhagavad-gita is so popular and important?
Because it is spoken by God.
Okay.
Gita means what? Gita means song. Now there are so many songs. But why is this song special? Because the singer is special. The singer is God. Right?
Thank you.
So we should know that though there are so many Gitas, they are not as valuable and important as Bhagavad-gita, because it is spoken by Krishna, who is God. That's why this Gita is most perfect or complete.
But as we discussed that Anugita was also said by Sri Krishna.
As I mentioned, we answered in that question. No, Anugita was also spoken by Krishna, but then it was a specific part of Bhagavad Gita. So that makes it also little incomplete.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Bhagavad Gita is complete version.
Complete version. Everything which a person has to know. Right? That complete knowledge is given. Neha Vaikarmata. Please unmute yourself. Cannot hear you. Is your microphone working, Matashi? Cannot hear you. If there's a problem in the microphone, you can put the question in the chat box. Try with the mic. If it doesn't work, put the question in the chat box. Madhu Malti. Is it Madhu Mati or Madhu Malti? I'm sorry.
Madhu Malti.
Yeah.
Madhu Malti.
Oh, fine.
My question is that what is the difference in the jiva and the soul? Is that the soul which is bonded like with the subtle body?
No. Simple answer, Mataji. Jiva, soul, same. In Sanskrit it's called jiva, in English it's called soul, spirit, soul.
And my second question is that, like in the 7th chapter, the Krishna says the bhumi rapo nalo vayu kham man buddhi revacha ahankar iti vinna prakriti asti. Like man, buddhi, and ahankar. Ahankar also comes in the material nature. So it's not like conscious.
Not conscious.
Man, buddhi, ahankar is not conscious.
No conscious.
And one more question: every particle, every atom has all these 8 elements, or this man, buddhi, ahankara present only in the jiva?
No. Different, no. This is different. We'll come to that later. When we study that chapter, we'll come to that. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Smriti Karuna Mataji.
Prabhuji, the material energy is the inferior energy, right? And the jiva energy is the superior energy. Prabhuji, but still we are under the control of the modes of material nature. How can a superior energy be under the control of the inferior energy?
Because here the superiority and inferiority is not on the basis of controllership. Here the superiority and inferiority is on the basis of consciousness. Okay.
It is not on the basis of what?
Controllership.
Controllership. Okay.
Because in terms of controllership, Durga Devi is more powerful controller than each one of us. and she's the boss of material energy. Getting the point? So that's why she can control us. Next question. Neha Mataji, is your question was that the slide isn't clear? That was your question? That was your comment, or you had a question? We'll ask Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Here it is mentioned that material nature itself is constituted by 3 qualities. That is mode of goodness, passion, and mode of ignorance. But material nature is not conscious. Why is it so?
Why it is so means the question, why it is not conscious? Is that the question?
Yes.
Because it is matter. Matter means no consciousness. Matter means no conscious.
Then why it is affected by a mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness?
You see, please try to understand, Prabhuji. I give you, let's say, I give you water. I give you some, I give you a little water. I give you a little rice powder, and then I ask you to make a dough out of it. Okay. So, is water conscious? Let's say we are assuming here. No. Is the rice powder conscious? No. But can you play with these 2 elements? Yes.
No problem.
You can. No. You can mix them together.
Yes.
It doesn't need them to be conscious for them to allow you to mix them together. Correct?
Yes, Prabhu.
So the question you are asking is how can there be a transformation in these elements? So for a transformation in these elements, it is not necessary they have to be conscious. So when the mode of ignorance is working on these elements, the mode of ignorance is transforming them, converting them from one state to another state. Simple. What does consciousness mean? I think some of you may not have understood the term consciousness. We'll come to that next session. What is consciousness? Then it will be very clear. Okay, what is consciousness? Consciousness does not mean existence. Consciousness is something different. So we'll discuss this in the next session. One question is there on the chat box. Is Sanjay having the same qualities like Arjuna? Yes, he not same, similar qualities like Arjuna. That's why he could understand Gita. He is also a devotee. Sanjay is also a devotee of Krishna. So he could understand Gita. Dhritarashtra was not a devotee of Krishna. So he could not understand Gita. He could not understand. Please explain the related energy. Okay, you're asking me to explain the table again. Do you want to explain the table fully in the next session? Because I have not explained it fully yet, and we are still, we don't have time now. It's 12 o'clock. So we can discuss this again in the next class. The table again, the last column. I'll explain it more in the next class. Mohit, you have a question, Mohit Prabhu? Last question for today.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My question was that what is the meaning of separate energy?
I'll explain in the next class.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
The last column I'm not.
Krishna.
I'll come to that. So your homework for next class is you have to tell me what is time and what is what we see on the clock and watch. How are they related? How are they different? Okay, this is the question. We'll stop here. Thank you so much for being in this session of 2 hours. I can tell you something. It was a tough topic what we discussed today, but you stayed for the 2-hour session, which shows that you have a lot of stamina, spiritual stamina. So we congratulate you for that, and I hope your stamina remains the same for upcoming 7 months, not that you lose this stamina. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Sripad Ramanujacharya.
Hare Krishna.